everyone with us this week. You know, we had missed last week because we were in our snow event of the year. So I apologize for having to change at the last second, but I wasn't positive I could make it. So I saved everything for National Heart Month. You know, that's what February is, when we think about hearts and love and taking care of our ticker. So what I wanted to do with this class is to sort of blend the relationship between cancer and heart disease, because they're the two leading killers, and depending on what day you look, it's going to be one is higher than the other, but they're always neck and neck. And the really awesome thing is most things that help your heart also help with cancer. So we're going to talk tonight about some key ingredients that I'm going to be using in some of the foods that I'm making. And I don't usually have notes, but I went ahead and brought some notes because I wanted to be sure I covered everything as well as I possibly could. One of my key ingredients are walnuts. And we're going to be making a wonderful walnut spread that I think you'll really like. It's a great dip for veggies. But you know, we used to always say almonds, king of the nut. And now we say walnuts, king of the nuts, because they are so beneficial for cancer and heart disease. They're inexpensive. There's a lot of ways to use them. And I want to just tell you a little bit about what they do. You know, they're a great source of fiber, and they have a lot of magnesium and copper and manganese. And so there are several studies that they've done in relationship to heart disease. And there's one, let me just make sure I give it to you from the right source if I put my glasses on. And they said that walnuts can reduce bad LDL, remember low like hell, the bad kind of cholesterol is a low one, up to 16% just by eating one serving 2 times a week. They can lower diastolic, that's the bottom level of your blood pressure, 2 to 3 millimeters per Hg, and decrease oxidative stress and inflammation. Another study that was fascinating, 365 participants showed that diet supplemented with walnuts led to decreases in LDL and overall cholesterol. So here's something that has a high fat content, but it's the right kinds of fats and can really do a number on lowering that cholesterol. They also found that it lowers your bad cholesterol, increases your good cholesterol, and could be associated with lowering both of them if you eat them regularly. Another ingredient that we're going to use tonight are beans. I have Great Northern beans here, and our chili that we're going to be making, I've got tricolor beans where they're 3 different beans. You know, what I really love is there's a lot of pasta out now, and this is a lentil pasta. And you can get beans in your pasta and use it that way, because some people say, I don't really like beans that much, they kind of bother me. But then when I make like red lentil pasta or garbanzo bean pasta, they love it. And you know what's in here? Lentils. That's it, lentils. So super, super simple to find some new ways to get some beans. But beans contain that resistant starch, the one that really helps your digestive system, and it ferments all that good bacteria in your gut. But it also can decrease your triglycerides and cholesterol. You know, that resistant starch does a lot. There are multiple studies. One study, they saw that it reduced the levels of blood triglycerides and bad cholesterol by about 15%. A review of 26 studies found that a diet high in beans and legumes decreased LDL. And it also can help reduce your blood pressure and inflammation. And those are all risks for heart disease. So that was really exciting. Another ingredient that we all love, that I'm going to make something delicious tonight that I think you're really going to like, is dark chocolate. Especially dark chocolate without sugar. And so we're using these Lily chocolate chips to make these awesome brownies. I'm also using some real organic cocoa powder. And so you can still have some chocolate. You shouldn't have a lot, and you certainly should not have it with sugar. But a little bit of dark chocolate does some amazing things for the heart too, because it's really rich in something called flavonoids. And those flavonoids help to reduce inflammation. They said several studies associated with eating chocolate had a lower risk of heart disease. A large study showed that those who ate chocolate at least 5 times per week, but that's just a little bit, remember, not the sugar kind, they had a 57% lower risk of coronary heart disease than non-chocolate eaters. And there are some benefit for cancer there too, so it may be worth it to have a little bit of dark chocolate. Another study found that eating chocolate twice a week was associated with a 32% lower risk of having calcified plaque in your arteries. So they don't show that it cures things, but it certainly can help. So it's loaded with antioxidants and flavonoids, is what makes it so beneficial. And then we have tomatoes. And tomatoes are unusual because they're one of the only vegetables or fruits, depending if you consider tomato a vegetable or a fruit. It's really honestly considered to be a fruit as far as how it's categorized. But it's the only thing where you have a canned product or a concentrated product like tomato sauce or tomatoes where it concentrates the lycopene that's in tomatoes that can be a huge, powerful antioxidant and really help with heart disease. It lowers low blood levels of lycopene, or linked to an increased risk of heart attack and stroke, and also prostate cancer, and it may have some relationship with colon and breast cancer. 25 studies showed a high intake of fruits rich in lycopene associated with the reduced risk of heart disease and stroke. So that's fabulous. In another study, 50 overweight women found that eating 2 raw tomatoes 4 times a week increased their good cholesterol significantly. So we know that there's some benefit there. It's kind of exciting to see all the different things that can make a difference that we're using, and we're using tonight. We're using pumpkin seeds and flaxseed and chia seed. They all have heart-healthy nutrients, especially fiber and those omega-3 fatty acids. Can't talk tonight. One of my favorites, and you hear me talk about this so much, is the infamous garlic. Garlic is so beneficial for your heart. It can lower cholesterol. It can lower blood pressure. You know, in Asian countries where they don't have some of the medications that we have or aren't able to get medications, they use garlic actually to lower blood pressure in place of medication. So there's the big compound in garlic that seems to do so many different things is called allicin. And in one study, taking garlic extract in doses of 600 to 1,500 milligrams daily for 24 weeks was just as effective as blood pressure medicine. And that's kind of exciting for people that have to take blood pressure medicine. They always have plenty of side effects. And one review compiled the results of 39 studies and found that garlic can reduce your total cholesterol by an average of 16 milligrams per deciliter and bad cholesterol by 9 milligrams. And it also helped drop total cholesterol. Another found that it can inhibit platelet buildup, which can reduce the risk of blood clots and strokes. So there's all different ways to eat garlic. We're going to eat it a couple of different ways tonight. Olive oil, another one of the omega-3 fatty acids that we find so helpful for the heart. Now again, do we want tons of it? No, we still want to keep our fat intake to about 30% of our total calories, but can make a wonderful, wonderful difference. I just want you to see that these ingredients we're using tonight have so much benefit. You know, green tea is another one, avocados. We're not using green tea and avocados tonight, but I use them all the time. We are using green leafies like parsley and cilantro, extremely good for your heart. I'm using shallots tonight, which are like a combination of onion and garlic, both of which are excellent for your heart. So let's get cooking and see what we're going to prepare tonight. I'm going to start over here in my Instapot, and I'm going to saute. We're going to start with the saute mode. Saute some onions and some peppers, and I've already done a few of them in here just to get it started. I'm going to put just a little bit of grapeseed oil in here. We're going to just get these started on the sauteing while we get a couple of other things going here as well. Makes such a nice, delicious flavor. And we've got garlic already in there. I put 2 or 3 cloves of garlic in there to give it a nice garlicky flavor. I think I might even add one more just because I let those saute ahead of time. You know, I just love taking garlic and using it extra any place you can. And I find that in the winter, you know, not only does it help with your heart disease, but it's tremendous for your immune system. And anytime we can get a little extra garlic in, it makes a huge difference. So we'll let that begin to saute. Let's see. I must have pumped our plug. Whoops. That's interesting. Sorry to do this. We just Where's my... All right, let me just change plugs over here because for some reason that plug's not working. That's pretty weird. Well, isn't that crazy? We just had our Instant Pot working absolutely perfectly fine and plugged in. And Krista, can you come on the side maybe and see if that's in there good? Because it's not lighting up like it's supposed to. Is it in there? Huh. Let's try it one more time over this other one. Let's try it over here one more time. Well, that is the weirdest thing in the world. We'll just try it in the back here because I don't think it is, I don't think it's the Instant Pot. There we go. Well, you know what? You have to be flexible and creative when you're doing anything that's online because you never know what is going to happen. Which probably means I'm going to have to move our blender too here in a minute. But what I've done is I've just started that on saute. So while that's going, the other thing that I'm going to make is a wonderful, wonderful dip out of walnuts. And I just love that. I think since I'm going to have to replug that in, let's digress and go back over here. And we're going to make something out of salmon. And I didn't talk about salmon, but salmon is one of those ingredients that really helps to lower cholesterol because it has the omega-3 fatty acids in it. It's a great source of protein, and what I'm using, let me be sure everybody can see really well, I actually really like the Costco brand of the wild salmon that you can get in a can. And so I'm going to just make one can of, and when I do these you'll see it calls for 2 cans because I'd be making it for a whole family, but since I'm making it for Carissa, we're going to just use 1 can tonight since we just have one person getting to eat. If y'all were here, I'd make more. But anyway, I love the fact that this is so much less expensive than buying fresh salmon all the time. It'd be great if we could all eat salmon about 3 times a week, but we can't. It's too expensive. Those fatty fish are really, really pricey. So I found a way to be able to get more salmon in our diet. You could do this for lunch. You can do it for dinner. I mean, it makes even a great snack. But all I'm doing is I'm just taking my fork and I'm going to just make the salmon into flakes. And then I'm going to put in some peppers and some onion and some parsley. You get those in here. I just love vegifying everything. You know how I always use that word vegify. And then to kind of help it hold together, I'm going to use some quinoa. And all I've done is just cook this quinoa in broth. And again, I'm using a little less because I'm going to make, but that way we've got the fiber along with. Let's see, did I leave anything out? Make sure I've got my onion, my parsley, and I've got celery in here too. I chopped it all up together. I forgot to tell you I chopped it all up together. Oh, and horseradish. I knew there was a big ingredient I was missing. I love adding this little bite of horseradish to it because if anybody worries about canned salmon, what this does is it just takes out that kind of canned flavor and gives it that fresh pop. While our vegetables are over here sauteing, which they're going to town, I'm going to give them a little stir. Ooh, and they are ready to go. We'll come back to this in just a second. Go ahead and turn that off. Let those simmer just for a minute, and we'll come back to that in a minute. So I've got my quinoa, I've got my horseradish, my celery, my parsley, my onions, my peppers, all in here to make a delicious salmon patty. I'm going to take just a little bit of spice. I have it over here. You could add garlic or anything to this too. I have so much garlic going in and other things. I went ahead and lumped it out of my salmon patties, but you certainly could put it in. And then what I'm going to do is just add a couple of eggs. Now, let's say you don't want to do eggs. You want to do something else. This makes a really good high protein, and of course I'm using eggs right from my barn, right from my chickens. But if you didn't want to use eggs, you could use chia guac. Remember how I soaked chia and made it into what almost looks like an egg-like consistency? You could do that, and you could do lots of the different egg replacers that are on the market. You could do anything you wanted to make your own combination, but you need the eggs to kind of hold it together, but the chia works really well with that too. So what I'm going to do is I have a nice hot oven at 425, and I'm going to just scoop these and make patties. And we're just going to pop them into that 425-degree oven and make some really delicious salmon patties. And I actually whipped up just a little bit of tartar sauce where I took some of the vegan mayonnaise and I put in a few pickles and some dill. I made a little onion, a little garlic, and made a really nice little tartar sauce. You can make up your own or leave it out, whatever you want. I like the little tartar sauce. I think it's delicious. We're just going to pop these in, and they take about 10 minutes, so they don't take very long at all, especially if you do it like in 425. If you want to do it slower to get it ready at the same time as something else, you can do that as well. Now I'm going to go over and make the rest of this chili. Let me show you some of the things since I have to walk to the back to do it. I want you to see I'm using the organic vegetable broth. I love Imagine. You can do vegetable broth, you can do chicken broth, you can do whatever you want, but we're going to need some broth. And I'm going to kind of deglaze the bottom of the pan, because if you've ever gotten that burn warning, it's because usually you got something a little stuck, and when you saute, sometimes that can happen. I'm going to be using a can of that tricolor bean that I told you about. This is the 10 for 10 that they have at Kroger, and it's my favorite thing in the world. I just go in there whenever they have that sale going on, and I think now it's almost a regular occasion, and I buy 10 cans of beans. $10 investment. That's 10 meals or more. Sometimes I use a bean for, a can of beans for 2 days. But for this chili, which is absolutely delicious, the tricolor is really nice, and you can see all the different colors. Now for my pasta tonight, I used a brown rice pasta. Since I'm using the beans, I saved my bean pasta for when I don't have any beans in the dish and I want to grab some beans. But tonight I'm going to use some brown rice pasta that I cooked. You don't have to do it cooked, you can do it uncooked, but I had some extra that I cooked. And I have my can of tomatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding these for my chili. Get all these in here and going. And we're going to add our seasoning, because of course we need our seasoning. There's my broth. And what I'm going to put in for seasonings, I'm going to use cumin, I'm going to use Mexican seasoning, and I'm going to use some spike. And then we're going to top it all off when it's done. The great thing about this chili is it's 3 minutes. That's all it takes, 3 minutes in the Instapot. Now, if you want to do it at home, you can do it on the stove. You don't have to have an Instapot. Don't look at this and say, oh no, I don't have an Instapot, I can't make this. Because of course you can. You can make it with anything. I like a lot of cumin. Hopefully Carissa does too, since I'm kind of making it over here for her. I'm going to put my broth in. And again, I'm going to stir it good to make sure it kind of deglazes. The bottom of the pan deglazes just means getting the junk off the bottom of the pan. Remember that in case you ever read that in the recipe. And we can always add a little more seasoning in the last too, but I'm going to also add a good teaspoon of my Mexican, because I want it to have just a little bit of pop. And remember, this is the Frontier seasoning where you can get it in bulk. And it was funny because I hadn't been in Georgetown in a little while with all the COVID stuff, and I went in there and just got rid of all my spices and redid them, because you know how I'm always telling you, redo your spices, get fresh stuff. I had to get fresh Mexican because it was kind of clumpy and didn't have that wonderful, fresh, bright, delicious smell and flavor to it. So if you wanted, you could always add some kind of meat to this if you wanted. The other night I made it for a party, and it's so easy to make that what I did is I did one vegan and I did one with white meat chicken. And it was delicious too. I just had some chicken breast and I just added that, and that was really, really delicious. So we're going to set it for 3 minutes on the Instapot. Let me get that done. And we'll go to the next. All right, we'll let it get started there. And it just, again, even if you chop every vegetable right here tonight, it would take you no time at all to make this. It's so quick and so easy. And you could change it up a lot of different ways. Maybe you want to just do, oops, that's my tomatoes. Somewhere here I have white beans. Maybe you just want to do white beans and you don't want to do the tricolor. You can do it with black beans. You could do it so many different ways. But it's just such a super simple, heart healthy, high fiber, easy. And we're just really talking tonight about easy. You saw how quickly I was able just to whip those salmon patties up. Literally takes a minute. One of the things everybody's asking me this time of year is, I need easy stuff, Jody. I really want to do some new things, but I want you to tell me how I can do it super simple. And so that's where having some of these things on hand, you know, like even just having a little horseradish, you're going to be surprised at what an extra added pop of flavor that gives. Plus, there's great benefits with horseradish. It's anti-cancer. It's good for your heart. It has really weird antioxidants in it that are hardly found anyplace else. Of course, it's strong, so you never use much. You only need a little bit. And that's the real stuff, not added sugar. Remembering that we love using quinoa and things, and so what I do is I have quinoa that I keep pre-cooked. So see, I have this whole thing here. So if I want to do something with quinoa, excuse me, all I have to do is grab it out of the freezer or refrige. I'll use the rest of this by the end of the week. It's already cooked. And even though it only takes 10 minutes to cook quinoa, what an easy way to save a little time, right? Just by already having it pre-cooked. So I really challenge you, have that around and done. And then when we get done with our chili, I'm going to put some cilantro on there. You saw me put parsley. I love parsley in things. So every time you go to the store, pick up cilantro, pick up parsley. You've never tried a leek? Or you've never tried a shallot? Excuse me, I got something stuck in my throat. Try one, just buy one and bring it home, and then it'll make you use it. I've been buying one about every other grocery time so that I can mix it up a little, get a little different flavor profile. And what I'm going to make for you in this walnut dip, I'm going to use that, yeah, something went wrong with our plug, so we'll just unplug this and put it in back. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just blend some of these walnuts that I've soaked overnight. And it's crazy the way they turn totally creamy by soaking them. So this is what I have, is I have a little jar that I often use to soak nuts, walnuts or cashews or whatever. It makes this really kind of dark water that's loaded with nutrients. So I try to use some of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pour a little bit of this water out. Just in case, I don't want too much water in there, it will be too thin, my dip. So I'm going to pour it in my bean can here, a little of the water out. I'll leave a little in, and then I'm going to put that in my blender, and that's going to actually make the creamy base. I know it sounds really weird, but it works, I promise. I'm going to go ahead and add, remember we were talking about having something on hand. I've got some shallot, so I use lots of garlic in the other. Shallot has both the benefits of garlic and onions in the same family, so we're going to put that in there. I've got fresh parsley. We're going to put some fresh parsley in there. It's absolutely delicious. I'm going to add olive oil to this one because it's cold. I don't have to worry about heating it. You could use avocado, you could use grapeseed, but I love the flavor of using the olive oil in here. I'm going to put a little olive oil. That's also going to make it really nice. Sometimes I put olive oil and lemon juice together, so I had to smell to see if I had put some lemon juice in there. I try to keep that mixed up too, because it makes a really easy way to do a little drizzle on salad or on vegetables. I'm going to add a little bit of fresh lemon or lime juice, and I'm not going to use fresh. I'm going to use the squeeze, but I do have lemon over here, so we might just top it off with a little fresh. I put a little bit of lemon juice in here, give it a good squeeze. And then pink salt is something I hope you all have bought. It's so available now. You can find it just about everywhere. I got this at Ross for $3.99, and it's probably enough to last me, I don't know, I don't think I'd go through this much in 2 years, maybe 3 years. So it'll last forever, but it's the Himalayan salt. And what it does is it has all of the nutrients in it. If you look at it, I don't know if you can really see in there, but it's kind of crazy trying to hold it up to the camera, but if you were here, what you would see is like little black specks in there, little brown specks in there. It's just got loaded with all kinds of things because it comes from the Himalayan mountains and the salt flats. So it's pretty amazing. let's see, we've got our shallots, our grapeseed. We're going to put a pinch of salt. Oh yeah, some greens. And then I also want to put a little bit of onion. I've got some purple onion over here that gives it a really nice good pop. So a little onion and a little bit of the shallot's going to make it really flavorful. And my collard greens, I'm using spinach tonight, but you can use baby spinach or collard greens. And we're just going to add that to it and blend it up, and you're going to be shocked at what we come out with, because it just, and I'm going to add a little bit of the water because I can tell it's going to be just a tiny bit dry. So a little bit of my walnut water. We'll come back over here. We've got this beautiful, beautiful dip. And we're going to go ahead and put that in, let's see, I'm going to combine those two. I'm going to go ahead and put that here in a dip container. It makes just the most beautiful, green, gorgeous walnut dip. It's real creamy. Isn't that great? Wait till you taste it. It's so delicious. So I'm going to put this over here in the middle of a whole big, beautiful plate of some veggies. And on my veggie plate tonight, I did one thing unique. I always try to do at least something that maybe we don't have all the time, because I'm always trying to figure out different ways to get other vegetables in on a regular basis. And so I put bok choy on here. I read that one serving of bok choy has more vitamin C than oranges. So I cut out bok choy raw, because I'm so used to using it in stir fry that the other night I was trying to find something, you know, to place on the plate, and I said, I always forget how good bok choy is raw. And it is especially good with this delicious green walnut dip. I've got my colored peppers, some cauliflower, some cucumbers, some zucchini. So I've got a salad right there just with that walnut dip. You could put some crackers out too, but wait till you taste it. And you know, I'm always trying to find ways to get you to eat more veggies. And a super, super easy way to get you to eat more veggies is to do something like this. Make a really delicious dip. I like to often just take and squeeze a little extra lemon juice on the top. And sometimes I put just a tiny drizzle of olive oil. I don't want a lot. And it's ready to go, but it makes just a wonderful, luscious dip. Also, what I've used that for is to put on a sandwich. It's really great, like in place of mayonnaise or as a dressing. And you can thin it down and you can even use it on a salad, but I think it's better as a dip. So you've got this walnut used in a completely different way that even if you didn't like walnuts, I don't think you'd ever even recognize it being a walnut. So we've got our chili going, and it should come up to speed here really quick. This one, we've got our salmon patties in here. I'm going to take a peek at that. They're smelling really good and they're heating up. Now this dish is an unusual one because I don't hardly ever use microwaves for anything, but I do sometimes, and my daughter-in-law actually introduced me to this, and I just changed up the recipe a little, made it what I would consider to be just a little healthier, and I'm going to make a brownie in a mug. How many of you have done that? It's so simple. It's like the simplest recipe in the world, and I just took one of our wonderful cancer support mugs. I need a little bit of water, so I'm going to just grab a bottle of water here just because it's closest. And I've got some gluten-free flour, so I'm just going to take 1/4 of a cup of gluten-free flour. You can use any other kind. This is the Bob's Red Mill all-purpose flour. So I'm going to put that in there, and then I'm going to take a little bit of coconut sugar. You know, most of the mug recipes call for some sugar, and usually they're using regular sugar. And I'm going to use the coconut sugar and a little stevia so we can keep a much lower glycemic index. It doesn't take much, but it takes a little bit to make the texture right. So about a tablespoon or two. You can do less or more, it just depends on you. And then we're going to use some organic cocoa, make it a little bit better, right? Just to add a little bit extra benefit. Add 2 tablespoons. Because we want really to have that wonderful, wonderful dark chocolate benefit. And then to make it extra, extra good, I'm going to add a few of the chocolate chips. The Lily's chocolate chips. They are delicious. And it's going to give it even a richer chocolatey flavor. I made this for my husband the other night, and he just couldn't believe it. We need a little pinch of that sea salt to kind of take the, don't need much, just a little pinch. And then we're going to add 1/4 of a cup of water and a little bit of, softened some organic butter, just melted some organic butter. I'm going to put a little bit of my stevia in here because remember, it's not very sweet. I probably put about 10 drops, and I'm using the English coffee, but you could use vanilla. And then it just takes a little 1/4 of a cup of water. I'm not going to measure it. I just have made it enough times. I pretty much know what it needs to look like and feel like. Oh, my butter got pretty hard, but I think you can stir it in there. 2 tablespoons of butter. And that is all that's in here. So we're just going to stir this around. I should have a smaller spoon to go in this mug, but let's get it all stirred up into just kind of a batter. What I'll do is looks like we're getting real close with our pressure over here. I think I'm going to have to buy new stuff for we're out of spoons. All right. I've got my batter in here. I'm going to show you what it looks like as soon as I get it stirred around here. I'm using a fork, not a spoon that's just too big. You know what else you could do too? Is put a few walnuts in here. That's what I did for Dan. I know we have our walnut dip, but you could put, if you wanted to, put some walnuts in here. Now on a good night, when you have everything right there and you're not using a funky big spoon, it takes about 30 seconds to get this all whipped up and in here. And it just makes a really kind of goopy, dark, blobby looking stuff in there, but wait until you cook it. So we're going to put it in the microwave. I haven't checked it on this microwave. Mine, I did 120, so I'm going to try 110 on this just in case, and then we'll check it and see if it's done. I will do 115. That ought to be good. And just pop it in the microwave, and that's all you do. And then what you can do, you really, really want to make it super duper delicious, is you can take like a little cashew milk or a little bit of rice milk and put it over the top. And it's just like brownie, you know, this sweet, chocolatey, yummy, just kind of drowning in some milk. And that's the way I like it the best. I also got a frother for Christmas, and I can froth my coconut milk, or I can froth my cashew milk and get it kind of thick and frothy like what you would put on a latte. And I put that over it too to make it pretty, kind of looks almost like a whipped cream. But again, super, super simple. And if you're just dying for something at night, you know, and you want to do something but not a lot, and you don't want to do a ton of calories, that is a super, super easy way to make a delicious dessert. Okay, we're counting down on our chili. We've got our veggies, and I'm calling this a salad. You remember how I'm always telling you that in order to get 7 servings of vegetables in a day, you got to be really cognizant of doing it in a consistent way. So just to remind you, because I hope when we did the Cancer 101, lots of you started this. But what I try to do is do 3 servings of raw vegetables for lunch, and then I do 2 cooked and 2 raw for dinner. So sometimes that looks like a regular salad, and of course you've seen me make lots and lots of different kinds of salads. Tonight it's going to look like these chopped veggies. Well, guess what I'm going to have left over for the next day? Take those veggies, put them in a Ziploc, add a little bit of that dip to a little Tupperware, and you have lunch for the next day. You've got your 3 servings of veggies too. And then for cooked veggies, you saw all the veggies that we used. We used tomatoes, we used onions, we used peppers. We've got things in our, we've got veggies in our salmon patties. We just have veggies coming out our ears. So we've got our veggies covered, and then you've got tomorrow's lunch covered as well. I happen to have a big salad for lunch today, so this would be nice because I'd have the chunky vegetables for dinner where I had the salad. But if you think about how many different vegetables we used, We're going to use cilantro and parsley and cucumbers and bok choy and peppers and cauliflower and tomatoes and onions and shallots and garlic. Man, we're like 12 or 13 already. Let's take a look at this and see if it looks good. Oh yeah, it kind of looks just gloppy and just this really wonderful. So we're going to put that out there. So Chris is going to get to taste that. And let me take a look at our salmon patties. They should be just about, yep, they're looking nice and brown and good. They look really delicious. So I'm going to take our salmon patties and I'm going to put them on a plate. And I told you I made just a little bit of some really good tartar sauce to go on them. So I'm going to take a little tartar sauce. There it goes. And our chili is done. That's beeping to tell me it's ready. Let's put a little tartar on here and let me release our steam. So I don't like to do it by the cabinet, but I don't think it'll hurt just a little bit. Put a little dollop of our tartar sauce. Get that going. And then I love to put some something just a little fresh, so I think I take it, since I'm going to use the cilantro on a chili, I'm just going to use a little bit of my fresh parsley here. You could also put a pretty bit of pepper on there. Now, you see, you could use these easily on a bun if you wanted to make a salmon, kind of like a salmon hamburger, but they're great and beautiful just as our little patties. And then we're going to get some of our delicious chili over here. As soon as we let all of our steam out. And we're going to have really a very perfect meal because you've got your protein in your salmon. You got a ton of protein. Remember, we added quinoa too. You've got your omega-3 fatty acids, your good fats. We've got just a little dollop of that vegan mayo, which also uses good fats. It uses grapeseed oil. We've got olive oil in our walnut pate or our walnut dip. All right. Oh, this is just bubbly and delicious looking. If I grab a ladle here and get some soup going, some chili. Oh goodness. Do you see all the pretty colors in this? And we've got our brown rice pasta in here to add extra fiber. I think you'll be able to see it if I put it there. I'm going to put some green onions and some cilantro on the top, you know, the fresh pop. And then to add some extra zinc and some extra nutrients, we'll sprinkle it with some pumpkin seeds. So we've got just a really fabulous meal, including dessert. And it took us, golly, it didn't even take us 45 minutes to prepare it. And that's with me blabbing for 15 minutes in the beginning. So you can make this in no time at all and have this for your family and have a full meal. And if you look at this, for most, you know, I only made half the recipe of the salmon patties, but you would have enough for a couple days. So you could do it for dinner, and then if you wanted to have some leftovers for lunch, you could probably even freeze some to boot. I still got half of a pot over there in the Instapot. 3 minutes to that wonderfully delicious chili. It's loaded with organic ingredients, lots of minerals, lots of nutrients, and it didn't take any longer than, you know, a very, very simple meal would take to prepare. So my goal is that you've learned tonight some things that would help your heart as well as help you prevent cancer, and that we've prepared food that I know you can't taste it, and that's the hardest thing with COVID and not being able to do things for you, because now would be the really fun time where everybody would come take their food and I say, what do you think? And you'd all say, it's really good. I would make this, because the encouragement to make it often is to taste it. But you'll just have to trust Carissa, I promise you. Every time she tastes it, she always says, yeah, I'd make this. This is good. And I know I've tried it on lots and lots of different people, so I really know that you would like it. So if you can trust me and you can take these recipes, you can tweak them, you can make them your way, but try these out and see if you can't come up with some really, really delicious heart healthy and cancer preventive types of foods that you can use for your family over the month. Krista, do we have any questions?
No, there's no questions.
No, does anybody have any questions? Type them in if you have any, because I'd be happy to answer them. You know, when we're in person here, we always have loads of questions, and I always appreciate that time. I try to anticipate maybe some of your questions, but I also wanted to remind you that in our meal here, when we talked about fiber, you know, there are two types of fiber. There's soluble and insoluble. And because we have the brown rice pasta, and we've got the quinoa, we've got the soluble fiber, we have all the veggies and the beans, we've got the insoluble fiber. You know, that's a really easy way to get fiber in your diet. It's a hard thing to get enough of. But in this style of diet, you've got all that you need. So this would be something that would stand out from the standpoint of the protein quality and quantity. It would stand out for the nutrient value, for all the veggies, all the antioxidants and the anti-inflammatories, all the minerals like zinc, which really helps your immune system and helps your heart, with the pumpkin seeds and the walnuts, heart healthy. You have just covered all of those bases: vitamins, minerals, fiber, good fats, protein, complex carbohydrates. We've got it all in a meal just like this. So think about what you can do and how you can improve each meal that you make, because step by step, that's how we improve our nutrition, just one step at a time. Anything come through?
No questions.
Well, I guess that's all I have for you tonight, because I want to make sure that Krista gets to eat this while it's still good and hot. Thank you all for tuning in. Let us know if you have any questions. I'm always happy to answer them. Krista can pass them over to me or anybody from Cancer Support Community, and I will look forward to seeing everybody next month. We're going to do a wonderful veggie stew that you're going to love. It has some unique vegetables in it, maybe you don't make all the time, which will encourage you, and it'll be hot and yummy, and I've got several other great recipes for you. God bless.